This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm sitting here with John Szabo, Master Sommelier. How are you today, John?
Wonderful, Jamie.
We're sitting here in a wonderful, it's supposed to be midwinter day in Toronto, but it's quite beautiful. It feels much more like spring. I've been having the pleasure of tasting through some of John's wines from Hungary, Eged in Hungary. John, tell us a little bit about your expeditions into winemaking in Hungary.
Well, this is a project I started about 7 years ago now, in 2003, when I was doing some work over in Tokaj in Hungary, doing some consulting there, looking around and recognizing there was some opportunity. Now, Hungary is a country with 2,000 years of winemaking history, and going through a difficult period in the last 40 or 50 years. This seemed like the right time to get in and to buy some old vineyards and to certainly have a connection to the country that I'm from, that my family is from in any case, and a good excuse to go back there, and most importantly get my hands dirty and see the other side of the business, because as you know I spend most of my time reviewing wines, critiquing wines, and the opportunity to actually go and work in the vineyard and make wines has changed the way that I look at wines and I review wines, and that for me has been one of the most beneficial aspects of this.
Now, the grape varietal you chose to work with, it may not be a name that slips off the tongue for many people watching this particular podcast. They may know it under some other synonyms. Please explain a little about the grape varietal you chose to work with.
Well, I think within the next few years, Kékfrankos will be the name on everyone's lip as the new hot, interesting red grape variety. If I have anything to say about it, in any case, it's a grape that grows mainly in Middle Europe. It's probably best known from Austria as Blaufränkisch, grows in Germany under Lemberger, even a little bit in Washington State, in upper New York State. They have small plantings of it, and it's a very important variety in Hungary, particularly in Eged. It was the backbone of most of the bull's bloods of Eged, the Egri Bikover, and I chose that grape variety because I think it's perfectly suited to the climate. Eged is a relatively cool climate. Kékfrankos is a grape that needs a nice long growing season. It has high quality potential, reflects the vineyards in which it's grown, the different soil types, and it's intimately food friendly. I think it's just a great wine that accompanies a wide range of foods, lots of acid, lots of vibrant, juicy, dark fruit character, spiciness. So a really fun grape that I enjoy drinking, quite honestly.
Are there any other grape varietals, perhaps more common grape varietals, that you could make any parallels with?
Well, when I've shown this wine blind to lots of my colleagues around the world, the most frequent one that's come up has been Barbera from northern Italy. In the same way that Barbera has vibrant acid, lots of juicy red and blackberry fruit, and a slight spicy edge. It's probably the best parallel. Sometimes it takes on a slight northern Rhone Syrah-like character, spicy pepper note, and in more challenging vintages, almost an herbal Cabernet Franc like note. So if you triangulate those three varieties, Syrah, Barbera, and a little Cabernet Franc, you've got a good idea of what this grape tastes like.
Now, who is looking after these vineyards while you're gallivanting around the world and doing all the things you do in Toronto?
Thankfully, I've got my partner, Janos Stumpf. He's the other J in J&J, and he does most of the heavy lifting. He's got his team of crack grandmothers who farm the vineyards and do most of the harvesting. I'll have to show you some photos of this team of 70-plus-year-old women rolling through there, drinking their palinka early morning and harvesting grapes. But I partnered with Janos because he's been in the region for 20 years making wine. He's got lots of experience, knows the vineyards inside and out, and he also has the all-important element in the growing business, which is a wine cellar and a wine-making facility. So we've got a very traditional European-style wine cellar, just a couple of tunnels carved out of the volcanic tufa rock in Eged, where our barrels sit and the wine ages for a year or so before we bottle it.
Fantastic. Now, what kind of size of production are we talking about here, John?
I think by pretty much any measure, this is boutique winemaking. The most we've made in any particular vintage so far has been just over 5,000 bottles divided between two different vineyard sites. So this is really a labor of love, a passion of mine rather than commercial venture. As I said earlier, it's just an excuse for me to get to Hungary and also to get some experience on the winemaking side.
And how do you see this venture expanding? How many bottlings do you have at the present moment in time?
We currently have about 3 different wines available, 2 vineyards in 2006 and a blend of those 2 vineyards in 2007. 08 and 09, we'll see. Those will probably be single vineyard bottlings, but I don't have any plans to expand it dramatically. I never intended this to be my retirement project, so to speak. But we'll see. I'd like to start playing around with different vineyards. There are 3 or 4 other very interesting sites in Eged planted with Kékfrankos that we have access to. One day maybe even some Kadarka, another interesting Hungarian variety, and somewhere down the line maybe even a white wine or 2, again using indigenous local grapes.
Now, which white varietals would we be speaking of here? Excuse my ignorance when it comes to white Hungarian varietals in Eged.
Well, yeah, you're not alone in your ignorance there. Well, it'll take a while for people to wrap their tongues around Leánka and Király Leánka, which are 2 local grapes. The Király version, it translates to Royal Maiden Grape, probably the more interesting of the 2, a little bit better acidity, but we'll never make extraordinary wines. I tell you, if I were to make white wines in Hungary, I would buy vineyards on the northern shores of Lake Balaton, which I think has one of the highest potentials, not just in Hungary, but maybe even in Central Europe or Europe, to make really world-class minerally wines, the kind of wines that you and I like to drink. And there I would plant a grape variety called Kékfrankos, blue stock.
I'm not familiar with that one at all.
We'll taste some together.
Fantastic. Now, if one was wishing to sample some of your wine, some of the vintages that are available right now, where would one do that?
Currently only available in restaurants. Just a few intrepid sommeliers have been willing to bring them into their wine programs, but you'll find it, for example, at Union down on Ossington.
In Toronto.
In Toronto, yes. Canoe Restaurant up on the TD Centre has some. Niagara Street Cafe, Crush Wine Bar. Who else has some? Granite Club has a little bit. Let's see, about a dozen or so restaurants in Ontario for now.
Well, I wish you all the best with this project, John. Your wines are absolutely delicious. I've really enjoyed tasting them today. Thank you for joining us today at Bespoke Club in Toronto. We look forward to catching up with you at some point in the future.
Thank you for your time, Jamie, and cheers. Always nice to share a glass of wine with you.
Take care.